I may have just stumbled upon the funniest sequence of tweets on the entire app of X, and it's Elon Musk's own AI fact-checking and pissing off multiple Trump supporters, and then Elon himself steps in and is basically salty that Grok is telling the truth and undermining the narrative that he wants to push. We have no time to waste, so let's just jump in with this first post that you guys are going to love. Gunther Eagleman, this right-wing troll who always just tweets out pure propaganda, posted, LOL, the No Kings protests have turned out to be a complete flop. Now, a lot of us were there. We know that's not true. So someone said, Grok, can you fact check this? And Elon Musk's own AI then proceeds to say, by the way, I just found these tweets on my own. I found these while I was laying in bed for the night, and I was like, this is so funny, I have to hop on and make a video. So drop a like for the fact checking here. Grok says, news reports from The Guardian, NPR, and PBS indicate millions are participating in No Kings protests across 2,000 locations today, June 14th, 2025, obviously a few days ago, with large crowds in cities like Philadelphia and Seattle. Claims of a flop or cancellations, as seen in some X posts, lack support from major outlets and seem to reflect isolated views. The evidence suggests significant turnout, contradicting the claim of failure. But then it gets worse. Another Trump supporter says, these are all liberal news outlets. Are there any center media companies reporting that it's a success? But the liberal news outlets are NPR, PBS, and The Guardian? Those aren't liberal news outlets. I guess when you're MAGA, reality has a liberal bias, right? That's what they say. Reality has a liberal bias because the facts tend to just fall in favor of people on the left. To continue, someone says, Grok, these are all new or liberal outlets. Any center outlets? And Grok says, centrist outlets like Newsweek and Axios report the No Kings protests on June 2025 as having a large scale, with events in nearly 2,000 locations and millions expected to participate. Fox News, a conservative source, also confirms hundreds of protests nationwide. And Lahit says, I wouldn't use number of locations as a metric to consider it a success. This is not grassroots. These were largely organized and paid for by NGO-connected groups, and they got ratioed. Someone said, y'all can't keep letting Grok embarrass you like this. It's hilarious, and I want to show you the Elon Musk portion, but first, let's talk about JD Vance, because JD Vance just got banned on Blue Sky within an hour of joining, and then re-accepted on Blue Sky. It's because he joined just being a condescending prick. He said, hello, Blue Sky. I've been told this app has become the place to go for common sense political discussion and analysis, so I'm thrilled here to engage with all of you. And he links a Supreme Court ruling that just came out that bans gender-affirming care for minors in the state of Oklahoma. The Supreme Court officially agrees with the Trump administration's ruling that gender-affirming care in that state should be banned. So JD Vance comes on to troll because that's all he does. He's a social media troll. He said, to that end, I found Justice Thomas's concurrence on medical care for transgender youth quite illuminating. He argues that many of our so-called experts have used bad faith arguments and substandard science to push experimental therapies on our youth. I might add that many of those scientists are receiving substantial resources from Big Pharma to push these medicines on kids. How convenient that anybody who disagrees with you is being paid off. You know, it kind of reminds me of this tweet right here when this guy said, you know, these protests are being organized and paid for by NGO groups. But the fact of the matter is, while yes, there's still substantial debate on the long-term effects of gender-affirming care, doctors always trust the consensus of a psychiatrist, the parents, the doctor himself, and the child. After you have a consensus among multiple people, then generally when people get gender-affirming care as a minor, they are 16 or 17 years old and have gone through years of therapy. So just to reiterate, some 12-year-old is not getting surgery, no, but a 17-year-old who has been through 4 years of therapy and has consensus from parents, doctors, and psychiatrists may get some sort of treatment. Now, there are studies still to be done, but we should be researching and funding these studies rather than just straight up cutting it off. That's my opinion. And I think that, you know, research is always good. Do more research, more studies. At the very least, yes, more studies can be done. I would never say no to that. But JD Vance is not a good political knife fighter. He's not a good example of someone with punch. And I really quickly want to take this opportunity to introduce you all to a new Democratic politician that has punch. I would be misusing my platform if I'm not using it to introduce you guys to up-and-comers within the party to help blow them up. So I want to introduce you all to Josh Weil, a Democrat for U.S. Senate. Earlier this year, Josh Weil, a public school teacher and father, landed tons of national press. Not because he's famous or well-connected, but because he ran a grassroots congressional campaign in a deep red district that rattled Trump's operation. We have headlines like this: Florida Dem who posted huge special election fundraising set for Senate run. And the coolest part is, this guy's pretty cool. He was a former teacher. He didn't win, but he came closer than anyone expected and forced Trump and Elon to spend time and millions responding in a deep red district they had thought was safe. His message was simple: give people something real to vote for. A future where working families can own homes, raise kids, and build stable lives. Voters responded and moved the needle 18 points. Over 80% of independents voted for Josh Weil. They knocked 600,000 doors, made 3 million phone calls, and reached voters who hadn't heard from Democrats since the Obama era. Now, Josh is running for U.S. Senate. He's not waiting for permission. He's building statewide infrastructure. Here's what makes us different: a real field and voter organization program that starts now, not in 2026. A cost of living message, a campaign that uplifts down ballot races, and you guys can help support with the link in the description below. Genuinely, go support Josh Weil. He's a former teacher. You can see his ad right here: career teacher. He understands the importance of engaging with the community. Go click the top link in the description. And to bring you on to the final story of this video. Again, it's important that I use my platform to lift up-and-comers, especially talented people. So this is where it begins. Gunther Eagleman, this right-wing troll, tweets out, wait, this is the same right-wing troll from the first post as well. Yeah, it is. Okay, so he said, just announced, support for the violent Democratic Party has collapsed. Not true. Our support is at a low, and we do have a lot of problems to solve. But, it's not collapsing because we're already pretty low. But then Grok says, since 2016, has the right or left been more violent? And Grok says, since 2016, data suggests right-wing political violence has been more frequent and deadly, with incidents like the January 6th Capitol riot and mass shootings, such as El Paso in 2019, causing significant fatalities. Left-wing violence, while rising, especially in the 2020 protests, is less lethal, often targeting property. Surveys show both sides increasingly justify violence, reflecting deep polarization. Right-wing attacks account for most deadly incidents per reports like Reuters and the Government Accountability Office. However, biases in reporting may skew perceptions, but I disagree with that. We can see top-down violent rhetoric coming from the right. That's a key distinction. Top-down rhetoric coming from the likes of Donald Trump or Mike Lee. Now, Elon Musk then replies, major fail, as this is objectively false. Grok is parroting legacy media, working on it. And someone who actually, likes Elon said, with all due respect, please stop putting your thumb on the scale with Grok. The answer it provided is unbiased, balanced, and factual. I asked O3 Pro and Perplexity, and they basically said the same thing, but Grok was better at acknowledging possible limitations. You've built a formidable product. Don't screw it up by adding superficial bias unless you want that user trust to go out the window. I kind of agree. And if you agree, make sure you drop a like. Subscribe if you appreciate the videos we do. Check out Josh Weil below. I love all of you guys. If you made it this far in the video, say hi, Adam. If you're excited for Mockler Media, then I'm excited too. I love each and every single one of you. I love meeting you all too. It's been great. I've been meeting a lot of you in public lately, and it makes me feel amazing. Let's continue killing it. Love you all. Peace out.